If you've ever felt like no matter how much you achieve, it's still never enough, you are not alone. Perfectionism might look like success on the outside, but inside it can feel like pressure, self doubt, and the inner critic that never rests. Hi, and welcome to the You World Order Showcase podcast, where we feature life, health, transformational coaches, and spiritual entrepreneurs who are stepping up to be the change they seek in the world. I'm your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist, on a mission to help coaches and entrepreneurs amplify their voice, monetize their mission, and get visible, leveraging podcasts and Substack. If you are ready to start attracting premium clients without chasing algorithms or hunting people down like a banshee on a mission, head over to coachesalchemist.com and schedule your free client acquisition audit. It's the first step to building a business where your clients seek you out instead of you chasing them down. Today, we are chatting with Dr. Tara Cousineau. Tara is the author, clinical psychologist, meditation teacher, and perfectionism coach with over 20 years of experience helping high achievers unlock their potential with ease and confidence. She's the author of The Perfectionist Dilemma, Learn the Art of Self-Compassion and Become a Happy Achiever, and serves as the staff psychologist at Harvard University's Counseling and Mental Health Services. Through her Evolve method, Tara guides individuals and organizations to cultivate greater self-worth, authentic leadership, and land a life of greater balance and joy. Welcome to the show, Tara. It's great to have you with us today.
Thanks, Jill. Happy to be here.
All right. We're trying something new this morning, everybody. A lot of our listeners have tried everything when it comes to dealing with perfectionism. What's one piece of advice that you followed that you thought would help, but it really didn't?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's probably several answers, but I think the simple one for me is, I would follow a lot of that personal development advice around shifting your mindset from the scarcity mindset to the abundance mindset. And then if you can just keep sort of redirecting your attention to abundance and imagining the world that you want and the feelings that you want to have, that you can kind of like just grow yourself into that. And I just feel like part of me feels like that's such BS. Because it's still so cognitive, it still requires you to use your sort of thinking brain, and actually perfectionism or any kind of anxiety or worry or concerns are not good enough is it actually resides so much in the body. So that's the part that I'm just like, oh yeah, you can get tired of that pretty quickly, and you can get really, it's self-defeating after a while too, to kind of think, oh yeah, I just got to have that abundant mindset and my life will be perfect.
And we perfectionist people who are over here going, am I doing it right? Maybe I need to, I must not be doing it right because I'm not seeing the results. But but they
Yeah,
said that's what we gotta do, right?
exactly. Oh, I'm not doing it good enough. I should be doing it this instead. I must be missing something. Maybe it's just something flawed in me that I just don't get it, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the maybe something's flawed in me piece that it's just like perfectionists that or high achievers. They might not even be perfectionists, and that could be part of their problem too, is they're like they don't think that they're very perfectionist at what they're doing. And so they're like, oh God, I must be screwing this up.
Yeah. Well, perfectionism's on a spectrum. Even if you don't necessarily self-identify as a perfectionist, some of your behaviors might be perfectionistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when that didn't work, what did you do differently? And what was the shift that actually made the difference for you?
It's really interesting for me. I'm a clinical psychologist. I, have this PhD. Everything in my field is very much about evidence-based, right?
Mhm.
And if you're not doing the evidence-based work, well, then you're not actually doing things right, and people aren't going to work with you because you're not doing it evidence-based. But I actually have found that the thing that works is not necessarily in the foreground of evidence-based work, but there's evidence for it. And I would really say that that's energy psychology and energy medicine. So when I realized that, well, I can try to do all of these mental gymnastics and I'm still feeling this sort of disease of not good enough, I really actually needed to do something different. And the wake up call was actually my somatic symptoms was really tense, jaw, getting sort of this trigeminal neuralgia. I thought, what's going on? My body was telling me things aren't right. And so I actually had to kind of completely flip the script and start working with alternative and complementary approaches to actually address this sort of almost like it's a compulsion. It's really driven by anxiety and fear. And I had to address it from really that energetic standpoint first. And so that's an interesting sell to the people who come to, to me, is to say, we're going to do some energy work.
Yeah, I'm sure that it's just like, but you have psychologist by your name. and and doctor, which implies science, and then to start wandering into what most people consider the woo,
Right.
it's just like, but woo is like the cutting edge of science right now. They're finding so much has to do with energy, and it overcomes a lot of the things that we think about in the world in terms of our brain wants everything to be 3D and very solid, and we're finding that it's just not.
Well, listen, 25, 30 years ago, when I was just starting out as a psychologist, mindfulness was considered woo. Like
Yeah.
people who were like sitting in meditation, or using meditation in medicine. I mean, that was really a stretch. And people, I remember my, advisors saying, uh, you're a little aloof. This is a little out in left field here. And I'm thinking, no, did you just watch the Bill Moyers special with John Kabat-Zinn, working with the patients who feel like they have no other options in their life to alleviate their pain, or in the basement of that hospital and they're doing mindfulness? I mean, that was the beginning of the evidence. And now here we are, literally 30 years later, and there are meta-analyses and randomized controlled trials on the benefits of meditation on your brain, the way that your brain is structured, the nervous system, your body. So I feel like, in a way, energy medicine, energy psychology is kind of at that inflection point where people are now open to it. There's enough studies out there that shows that healing touch, emotional freedom technique actually benefit pretty significant, symptoms like anxiety, PTSD, depression, weight concerns, body image, you name it. So I have a lot of hope. I might be woo now, but I really do feel that in the next decade or so, the, the field is just going to open up, and people are already coming from it, coming for it. They're looking for this kind of thing.
They're just struggling so much with the whole, you know, we call it perfectionism, but it's really this desire to feel enough. Like, you don't have to be everything everywhere, and how to like make it work in your body, because you can tell yourself, I mean, I tell myself lots of affirmations and things, and the rest of my body is like,
Hmm.
yeah, right.
Right.
My stomach's
Exactly.
still tight, and I'm
Right. So I
waking up
so
with
when I see a
sweats.
perfectionist, they come into my office and they might self-identify as a perfectionist. Um, and really what I see is, like, energetically, they're all sort of neck up. I just say, oh, my perfectionists, they're all neck up. There's like no connection to below the neck. And you can
It's
see it in their
floating.
stance and the way they sit down and the way they sort of interact with the interpersonal cues. And um, to get them to start even being curious or aware of how they're feeling and what are the sensations in their body feels really foreign to a lot
Mhm.
of people. It just is like out of whack. But then you say, then you have a conversation with them and they're struggling with insomnia. They have IBS. They've got migraines. The hives. Like, the list goes on, and you're like, I wonder, could these be signs and symptoms of this sort of underlying anxiety? And to your point, Jill, what you said before is that everybody has this basic human desire for love and belonging. I mean, that is just the essential, of our basic innocent human needs. And perfectionism is one way that we learn over time to try to get that love and belonging, try to avoid the fear and the rejection. And we do it by trying to do everything perfectly or everything right or get all these achievements. And that then becomes a pattern, right? It becomes this mind body pattern, in life. And that's really exhausting, essentially.
Yeah, it is. And our bodies talk to us all the time. Like, I have this crazy story about my foot, and I woke up one day with a ganglion cyst on the side of my foot. It looked like I had a second ankle. It
Mm,
doesn't hurt or anything. I mean, it's not like it's interfering in my life particularly. I just found it interesting that as I'm getting ready to shift a whole bunch of stuff in my life and business, that the foundational piece of my body has also changed. It's like,
yes.
oh, hello, we're still here.
Yeah, and there's some sort of sign that, like, listen, you need a little bit more support,
Yeah.
right? In some sort of way. This is
Mhm.
actually really why I love, energy medicine. It was actually when I think about, like, when did, you asked me this question, like, where was the shift? And it really happened during COVID, when we had to very rapidly, doing our in-person work just shifted to online work, and people were literally flatlined, like nervous system. They weren't having that social connection, they weren't in their familiar environments. All of a sudden the world felt so uncertain and unsafe, and people were just overwhelmed. And I can tell you right now that talk therapy did nothing. It's like, we could talk about this all day long, it's not going to actually make a change. And I went, and I had always wanted to do this, but I was like, okay, well, now's actually a good time, is just to get some more training myself in energy medicine. And so I went and I learned, Eden energy medicine. I went to the energy psychologist and learned emotional freedom technique. I had so much fun doing it. But really, the evidence was when I started sharing this woo stuff with my clients. And, I know this sounds a little kind of like weird, but I just want you to try it. Let's do it together. Are you game? And I kind of make it fun and inviting. And I'll never forget working with a former Olympian, like gold medal Olympian, who was just really experiencing so much self-doubt. And you're thinking, oh my God, really? And this is like 20, 30 years later, right? And
Mhm.
still in life is kind of carrying this, I'm not good enough, I have to keep going. And finally, I was just like, will you just please try the tapping with me and do it at home? And here's an app, and here's a video link. You don't need me to be present. You can follow along with somebody else. And then I got this email, and all it had was a subject line: tapping. It works. And really, what was happening was is that she was modulating and regulating her nervous system,
Mhm.
right? She could try all the positive affirmations in the world, but it wasn't happening because her nervous system was stuck, like the energy was stuck. And one way to do that, tapping is one way, there are other ways to do it, but it really actually helped kind of reduce that amygdala response so that she could connect to the prefrontal cortex in her brain and take in the information she knew intellectually would help, but wasn't sticking before.
When I first started tapping, I thought it was the silliest thing ever, but I thought you had to have somebody talking to you the whole time you did it, or you had to make up these things, which maybe in terms of this person, she's like, I need to have like all the right things before we could do it. So it can't possibly work because I'm not
Mm,
having you sitting here with me and helping me do it, or I'm gonna have to go find something on YouTube. But I found out later that it's really doesn't even need to have somebody tell you. It's just the act of tapping. That
totally.
is what calms your nervous system down.
Yes.
In
I
fact, I
think
think
there's
Brad
actually some
Yates is the one that
science.
told me that.
Yeah, and there's a great researcher in Australia, Peter Stapleton. She also wrote a book called The Science of Tapping. And
Mhm.
there's a study that actually shows that you could actually do the tapping without the words,
Yeah.
without the setup statement, without the acceptance statement, that just the tapping in and of itself is beneficial. I find that fascinating. What I
Mhm.
find the words helpful for, because there's another area in my field that's also having its day, I would say, and that's internal family systems. And so a
Mhm.
lot more people are aware of this particular sort of method or approach, where you're really starting to identify the different parts, right? You can call them patterns, you can call them algorithms, you can call them schemas or scripts, but there are parts. I like to use the word parts. You can use tapping with the part of you. Oh, the part of me that feels like I will never be good enough and I'm
Mhm.
freaking out right now. I accept how I feel in this moment. I mean, you can just tap on kind of speak for the part in a way through tapping. And so there's so many blends that you can do nowadays. But honestly, simple yoga practices, I cannot tell you how many times I will have a perfectionist come in. I can tell that they're totally uptight. They're sort of their chest cavity is like armor. They can't
Hmm.
even take a luxurious deep breath because their
Hmm.
diaphragm is basically locked. And just starting to kind of like massage, around this diaphragm area, or I tell them your homework is to put your legs up the wall. Get your butt on the floor and your legs up the wall. That way you'll have blood running to your body, you'll be getting the energy you need, and the earth and the ground is supporting you. Your whole body cavity can relax. And when they start to practice these things that might kind of seem silly, and I'm like, do it with your roommate or your kids at home. Just get to a wall and put your legs up it, put your hands on your belly and your heart, and start breathing for a few minutes. See what happens. So there's very simple somatic exercises that actually start to shift your energy. And if your energy is kind of reversed, it will actually get it flowing in the right direction. And then all of a sudden you can start thinking clearly. So I would say that that's sort of where I've headed. And I don't think, I would necessarily say this at my day job, but the people who work with me in private practice, I will actually do like the somatic exercises or tapping with students. But I'm speaking for myself right now. I'm not speaking for my work at Harvard University, which is actually very
Hmm.
traditional for the most part. But I do find that that was actually what made the shift for me personally. And I feel like it makes the shift for a lot of people is that they get out of their heads.
We're bioelectrical beings.
Yes.
And when you talk about energy, we're just big batteries.
Yeah.
We're full of water, and water's a electrical conductor. So you need to be hydrated. And the more of these practices you do, the more hydration you need because we're making charges are like moving.
Yeah,
Stuff is getting
absolutely.
burned up in the process.
You're absolutely right. And I know that you speak to many people who actually, use these techniques. And I think with people who come in from this very intellectual, sort of high achieving perspective, this is a stretch. But when you start to say, listen, let me teach you about the nervous system, or let me teach you about the vagus nerve. This is how it operates. And when we have strong vagal tone, we are actually in the flow. We can manage life really well. But when we don't, and you can read that on your own by having your Whoop or your watch or whatever, you can start seeing the changes when you start engaging in these practices. So sometimes people actually need that evidence. And it's interesting now that we have all these tools that can actually help people, sort of quantify themselves essentially and see that when
Yeah.
they make these shifts, they start to feel better. And I think the hardest thing is, especially for the high achievers who just want to be able to get it done and they're looking for that quick fix, and they'll try meditation and come back and say, no, my mind's too busy, that doesn't work for me, or I'm not good enough at doing it, I'm not doing the meditation right, I'm not breathing right.
Yeah.
You really have to do a lot of work with them saying, this is, you're doing it right, just by doing it, but you got to keep doing it, right? You got to do it consistently. Find those transition moments in your day because consistency is key. And then I go into the whole positive neuroplasticity training. Like, if you want to learn a new language, you got to practice the language. If you want to learn how to manage your own nervous system, you have to practice these tools. And it's the same thing with self-compassion, right? My book is really about cultivating self-care and self-compassion, and it only works if you do it consistently.
It's like anything new that you do. In the beginning, it's really freaking hard.
It
Like I
is.
can remember learning to meditate, and like 3 minutes was an eternity. But now it's like, okay, I know the feeling that I'm going for, and I know when I get there, and then time stops, and I'm just in that space, and it's so yummy and delicious. But you never find that space if you don't like endure the 3 minute torture in the beginning to
Yeah,
figure
it
it
is
out.
totally. You're totally right, Jill. And I feel like, often I'm just telling people you have to actually make it pleasant in some way. So create that little calming corner, in your home, in your dorm room, in your office where you can kind of just sit, create the cues, have a playlist, ready, a candle, a photo, something so that it becomes like these little external cues, because otherwise all the cues we get are the to-do list, the pings, all the notifications, and all of a sudden our attention's going right to all of these other things. And so we actually really have to augment sort of our space, our mind space and our physical space, to really be conducive to taking this kind of, slowing down, taking this gentle care. So creating those kinds of rituals really help with that kind of retraining, if you will, of the nervous system.
And not making it a chore. Like another thing that I have to do every single day, and if I don't do it, somehow I have failed.
Hmm.
Because high achievers just really don't want to fail, but they really don't want one more thing added to their
Yeah, I mean,
list.
they don't want anything added to their to-do list, and that's why a little bit of the science is helpful, to talk about neuroplasticity and brain training. And that, did you know there's a study that shows that 7 days of a self-compassion meditation actually begins to alter the networks in your brain and thicken the gray matter? And then they're like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, it just means that you have to keep on doing it. So sometimes with high achievers, you need to actually let them know there actually are physiological outcomes, and we now have technologies and brain imaging that proves it. And once you can kind of get them open to that, then it starts like to kind of softening things a little bit. But I would say the hardest thing out of all of those things is the self-compassion piece, is really being a friend to yourself. And I think that that is the hardest thing for high achievers to do.
No, they've just spent so long trying to like find it outside of themselves. The idea that it's it's something that we're all born with. You are okay.
Yes, I know. I think
And
the
you are
other
enough.
concern with self-compassion is that if they soften in some area of their life, they're letting themselves off the hook, right?
Mhm.
Or, and procrastination is like a near sister of perfectionism, which
Mhm.
is another form of anxiety, essentially. I say that perfectionism is protection. You're trying to protect yourself from that fear of rejection, reputation damage, whatever it might be. And procrastination is really similar. It's an avoidance. It's your body's actually almost logical response to something that's perceived as a threat. Well, you're just going to stop, or you're going to hide, or you're not going to do it. You're going to avoid it as long as possible. And so with self-compassion, sometimes perfectionists get concerned, like, well, it's helped me this far. If I'm not, going at 110%, then I'm really going to fall behind, or I'm not going to do it at all. It's like black and white thinking. And I say, okay, well, tell me, how are you feeling? What is your body telling you? What are you noticing? Oh, well, I'm really tense. My neck hurts all the time, right? And then I'm like, okay, then I don't think that your strategy is working for you. Might you try treating yourself like you would a friend who is actually also burnt out, and trying really hard and is worried that they're not going to make it in life? Like, what would you actually say to them? And and then they start to soften, but it still is a new language. It's just having to repeat it over and over again. And so if they feel silly, or they feeling like they're faking it, I'm like, well, just keep doing it. It's okay to be a beginner. You don't have to know everything right now. Just keep trying. You know?
We we had a little experiment in our house when I was first trying to get into this state of not beating myself up over everything and not being enough. I had been listening to Marissa Peers, and she suggested putting writing on your mirror in, a, a marker, because it will come off, that you write in on your mirror and marker, I am enough. So I did it in the bathroom. And then my husband went in and he said, me too. And then my daughter went in and she goes, yes, I've always been enough. Because that's just kind of the person she is. But it was just like, you can start small, and it may seem like it's just you, but it really mushrooms out into those around you too. So you're not just like having compassion for yourself. And by having compassion for yourself, you're also having compassion for those around you who are significant in your life, whether, you
Hmm.
have people that live with you or not. It's just like,
Yeah. It's a really
Friends that
great,
come over and visit, they
yeah,
see evidence of,
yeah,
hey, she's being good to herself. And
exactly. I mean, that's being a good role model. And still you're going to get the naysayers, they're like, oh yeah, that, I'm beautiful no matter what, or you're perfect the way you are, that's all hooey and BS. And that's when I actually say, I want you to try something, which is basically the even though statement that's often used in EFT. But I
Mhm.
was using an even though statement for years, because you need to hold the paradox, right? The
Yeah.
paradox is, even though there's a part of me that feels like I will never get this or I'm not worthy, I am practicing feeling enough. Right.
Mhm.
So it's so that you're skirting out the edges, like you're softening around the edges first. Even if you can't go to write that direct statement, I am enough, do the even though there's a part of me that doesn't believe this,
Mhm.
I am practicing being enough. So I think, helping to be in that gray area is really important for high achievers, because they're pretty much all or none.
Yeah. And it's giving your brain something to be right about, because your brain wants to be right all the time. And
Yes.
by saying, well, I recognize, brain, that you think this way, but we're going to work on thinking a different way.
Yes.
This is the
Yeah.
goal. Like,
Yeah. And
higher
really,
set intentions.
right. I mean, affirmations work when your intentions are
Mhm.
aligned.
Mhm.
Affirmations don't work if there's so much resistance to them.
Mhm.
So again, going back to the energy, to kind of like get your energy flowing and in balance so that you can actually be receptive to saying, I am enough. I remember having a little meeting with some of us who are trained in a mindful self-compassion approach to psychotherapy. And I just brought up, the great Louise Hay, who had her mirror exercise, where you'd hold up a mirror and say, I love you. I love you very, very much. And I was so struck with one of the women, who is like a great teacher in self compassion, started to tear up. She was like, I don't think I can do that. And I thought, oh, then this is your play work, isn't it? It's to hold a mirror up and say, I love you. Like, look at yourself in the eyes and say, I love you. I love you very, very much. What a practice. And then we all talked about how emotional that is because we're not really taught that, right? We're always about loving other people or caring for other people or making everything good on the outside, but to actually be that sort of vulnerable and intimate with oneself could just be a challenge.
Yeah. And just the whole, so many of us were raised with the idea that anytime you go inward, or you think about yourself, or you express being proud of what you're doing, or gratitude to yourself for being who you are, that's selfish and that's bad.
Absolutely.
That's like,
Listen, every perfectionist has some story when they start really thinking about it.
Mhm.
There was this sort of lack of appropriate validation when they needed it, at the developmental age that they needed it. I mean, we all want to be seen, we all want to be appreciated and loved and cheered on. And a lot of people don't get that. Doesn't mean that they're going to turn into a perfectionist to overcompensate, but most of us have these wounds that happen along the way. It can happen in childhood, it can happen in the workplace. And so we have to kind of correct for that in some way. And so that's why the self compassion is so key, because as you become an adult, you can be that caregiver to yourself. And sometimes we call that spiritual reparenting, is that you identify, oh no, I never forget that time when my dad, got so mad at me when da 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 da. And, instead of getting the hug or, the lesson or whatever, it was punishment, harm, fear.
Mhm.
Not, we don't all have those sort of statements or those specific memories, but we might live in a culture or a family where that kind of validation and affection might not have been purposely withheld, but it just wasn't part of the dynamic. And
But
so,
there are a lot of situations where it actually was. And if you talk to
mhm,
the person that perpetrated it, their story is a lot different
yeah,
than the memory that you've created. And we all create memories, and those memories do change and adjust.
hmm,
And I like to tell people, You can totally make up a different story about that
Mhm.
to tell yourself. You don't have to hang on to that. And it can be whatever you want. So why not make it a story that benefits you rather than one that's going to keep
Yes.
reminding you and making it getting worse over time. And it does get worse over time because you
Yeah.
just
Yeah, I have a word for that.
embellish it.
My first book was The Kindness Cure: How the Science of Compassion Can Heal Your Heart and Your World. And so there's this word that I actually learned from a yoga teacher. And I went back to her years later. I'm like, "Do you remember saying that in that yoga class?" And she's like, "I don't remember saying that at all." I said, "It's totally stuck in my brain." But the word is kindsight. And I
Love
just
that.
use that for, that we can rewrite our stories with kindsight, that we can view our life experiences with tenderness and understanding. And that
Mhm.
in and of itself is a practice. So part of that is really not only being kind to yourself, but really looking at those experiences. And if there was no lesson learned, ultimately there usually is some sort of, like, you wouldn't be the person you are today without having had that experience in some way. And to really
Yeah.
make space and to honor that. And so I like to use the word kindsight.
I love that word. It's going to be part of my vocabulary. uh, yeah. Amazing.
Yeah,
So
I think we can rewrite our stories all the time, and so can perfectionists and high achievers. We can still be excellent. And I think that might have been one of your questions before, is like, how do you know, like, when you've gone overboard? But um, the more self aware we are and the more we take care of our bodies, we likely won't go to that tipping point of
mhm,
having gone to the compulsive striving.
I like that. I know that you have the Happy Achiever tools and Rewire Your Inner Critic. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh, sure. So The Perfectionist Dilemma is a book that I wrote with a lot of these stories, actually. And I have this little method in there with an acronym, because psychologists love acronyms, called Evolve. And there's 6 steps. And so that book is really about how to kind of work through that sort of achievement anxiety and the perfectionism piece, even if you don't totally identify with it. And associated with that are just free downloads that you can get at the book website, which is perfectionistdilemma.com, and download those for free. And there's a little master class also on little energy tools on that. So that's free for people. And recently, I launched a new online digital course called Rewire Your Inner Critic. And that, I feel like, is distilling my 6 steps down into like 2 or 3 to get to the essentials. Because people are like, "I just got to get rid of my inner critic." And I'm like, "No, that will never work. You cannot silence or banish the inner critic. You need to befriend the inner critic." And so the Rewire Your Inner Critic is really about, how to do that, at least to get started anyway.
I love that. And you're on Substack now. So let's
I
talk
am.
about
So
that.
that's a new thing for me. So I am actually doing a lot of self affirmations around, it's okay to be a beginner. You don't need to know everything. And and so that Substack is called The Peaceful Perfectionist. And it's the place where I can kind of continue to, have conversation and dialogue about um, perfectionism, overcoming it, being kind to yourself, self compassion, and those kinds of things.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for joining me today, Dr. Tara.
Jill, thanks for having me. It's a fun conversation.
It was. It was. To learn more about Dr. Tara and to find the Happy Achiever tools or the Rewire Your Inner Critic course, be sure to visit her website, theperfectionistdilemma.com, or her Substack, which is Tara, COUSPHD.com. No, it's TARACOUSPHD.substack.com. I always want to put that .com too
They could
soon.
just search for the peaceful perfectionist, and they'll find me on Substack. Yeah.
Perfect. And we'll put that in the show notes below. Thanks for tuning in with us today to the U World Order Showcase podcast. If today's conversation hit home and you want to help applying it, book your free client acquisition audit at coachesalchemist.com. We'll map your fastest path to clients in 30 minutes. Links in the show notes. Be sure to join us for our next episode as we share what others are doing to raise the global frequency. And remember, change begins with you. You have all the power to change the world. Start today and get visible.